Nvidia just released their latest model. It's a dense model that can reason and also not reason. In terms of benchmark, it's an actual huge improvement over the previous baselines on dense models. So as we can see over here, we can see that on the math dataset 24, it does a significant performance jump versus the previous Nemotron version. The current version is called the Llama Nemotron Super 49 billion version 1.5, and it's better than 32 billion parameters, their mixture of expert Nemotron Ultra. And we can see here that it does a perfect job also on the 2025 dataset. It performs very well on the GPK Diamond. It performs extraordinarily well on live code bench with only 49 billion parameters. Again, this is a dense model. It can fit on a single H200 GPU. That makes it super cheap to inference and use, and you could also self-host it. And also does perfectly on agentic tasks. Here we can see the throughput per second per GPU. It's over 2000 tokens per second. And the accuracy of agentic task performance has significantly improved versus the previous version. So this is a very extraordinarily big model release. You can test it out right now on build.nvidia.com, and yep, let's go ahead and give it a try. Let's create a simple transformer web page and see how this model performs, how fast the model is. I have reasoning on because that's what I want to be trying out. And of course, Nvidia is not just a provider, they're also building models based on other open source models. What makes this model interesting and different is that they have taken Llama 3.3 with 70 billion parameters, applied neural architecture search. What that is, it's essentially AI searching for better architectures and optimizing the architectures. And this way they have been able to make a smaller model and significantly improve it as they progress. This is actually very significant, especially if you're a developer. And here you can see the model, it's running so fast. It's actually pretty insane in my opinion. Also, if you want to close the reasoning, you can select reasoning off. You can also play around with its parameters. So the max tokens is 65,000. Which I find really interesting. These are the default options, which seem quite stable and nice. They also have set seed 0, so you have replayability. So let's see the actual response. Let's see if it's actually as good as it potentially is supposed to be on the benchmarks. So it's creating the website, it gives us an overview of what it has done, and yeah, the model is absolutely insanely fast, which is very unexpected, at least in my opinion. So let's copy the HTML code into LiveWeave, and then we're going to copy the CSS code again from LiveWeave. So this is the website. This is how it looks. Let's preview it. So Transformer Academy, Master Transformer Models. This looks very nice. And yep, that's an incredible job. Not perfect, but I would say this is very nice and very good looking. Maybe this is to be placed here just for CSS to apply, or potentially not. So yep, that's the response. It looks nice. I'm quite happy with the response and the result. One of the things that I find interesting, oh, they've got actually script.js. So that's my bad, my mistake. There's a lot more things to place into the code base. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay. So let's also put the JavaScript and let's see the final response. So this is it. There are some animations here. Very nice. Not perfect, but again, this is a very small model. So especially for its speed, it seems like one of the fastest and best small models, which is pretty incredible. I'm just going to give it another prompt just to test it out, but this feels very nice. Arguably one of the best small models that I have ever seen in terms of speed and quality. The prompt that I'm giving it right now is about creating a JavaScript-only game that is a Flappy Bird game, a platformer. But before we get the response from the model, I want to let you know that I have a cheap AI course. You can find it down below in the description. I'm hosting it on Udemy and its price is very low. You only have to pay once and you get all of the current available videos as well as new updates that I will be releasing inside the next 6 months to 1 year. This is, in my opinion, the best offer in the market if you want to get started with AI. And I think you are going to learn so many things, so many AI tools, all of the current offerings. You will learn how to generate high quality AI generate code, how to generate high quality images, videos, audios, as well as how you can edit videos with AI and how you can automate processes with AI automation and NA10. So the model is thinking. I really want to show you how fast it is. It's actually super, super fast. This is incredible to see. Imagine being on a data center with like this model running for about 1 million people at the same time. This is pretty incredible because it fits on a single GPU, and potentially it could be distilled and quantized and be served to hundreds of millions of people in the future as GPUs become bigger and data centers become bigger. So this is a very big and important step done by Nvidia, because most of the research right now has shifted to mixture of experts, but they come out and put out a state-of-the-art dense model that is small enough to fit on a single GPU. So that's a very big deal, at least in my opinion. And yep, this is all open source with open synthetic dataset and open techniques and tools. So that's a very big deal. I think this is super important, and I really love how Nvidia is pushing open source as well. They have the best GPUs in the market about AI. They're a $1 trillion company, multi-trillion dollar company, and they also put forwards the frontier of open source, which I think is incredible. A lot of people don't value Nvidia as an AI creator, but Nvidia is already optimizing their chips production using AI. They provide open source, small but super capable and fast models, which are mostly under the radar. Don't forget, they own the infrastructure, they make the chips, so they will very, very soon be a huge player in the marketplace. So you might as well start, checking out all of their offerings. So we finally got the response, and we're going to go ahead and test it out on P5.js. We're going to hit the play button. The preview says loading. I really want to see if it's able to run it. So it says we have a reserved function called size. So I'm going to give it this prompt to the model, so it's going to be able to change it, and hopefully the final response will be able to run. I just give it a second chance because this model is fast and small, and of course it's not going to be as accurate as the bigger models. Again, you have to understand that Nvidia is lagging behind because this is not their main business. But I think this is very helpful and very beautiful to see. Super fast thinking, super fast model, open source. Let's check out the result. This seems like a competitor to Gemini 2.5 Plus and all of the diffusion style of models that are as fast as this one. So again, you have to understand exactly where this is placed. Some people will say, why should we care about it? Well, guys, all of the models are pushing the frontier to being compute efficient, smaller but more capable. Because in order to have AI adoption to billions of people, you need these models to run fast and you need to serve requests super fast. That's one of the biggest and most important frontiers in AI right now. And not a lot of companies push through this way. So hopefully the modified code will run. If it's not going to run, it's going to be a disappointment. So it says to modify the asteroid class. So I'm going to replace it with the new code it provided for us. And it also says to modify the draw function. So we're going to change this to this. Hopefully it will work. Let's try to load it. And again, another issue with the flap. So at this point, we're just not going to care. The model is not able to generate the P5.js game. So it already failed my benchmark. I'm just going to give it another try and allow it to solve this just for the sake of showcase. At this point, the model is good, not perfect. I think it lags behind also Gemini 2.5, which is a lot slower actually. But in my opinion, this is a good release. Maybe not for coding, even though it does a very good job on live code bench. It seems like the model is probably overfitted on the benchmarks, to be completely transparent with you. Potentially, it could be good for math or simpler tasks, but at least for the use cases that we tried, it's not good enough. We have to understand here that the benchmarks that I'm testing out are not super hard, but yeah, let's see. I'm going to ask it to give me the final JS code field. So I'm going to ask it to compile all of the changes it has done, so we can check if it has some kind of memory, if the context can handle all of the changes and all of the stuff. Hopefully it will be able to do so. If it's not going to be able to do so, it's going to be pretty disappointing, in all honesty. So let's give this a try. This is not the first time that actually small models or less capable models are completely failing this specific request. That's one of the reasons that I still have it as the second biggest prompt that I use on videos, because it's a hard prompt. You actually try to create an endless 2D game with generated assets and multiple movements in a very specific constrained environment. You know, these companies are not actually creating simple JS games like that. That's not their job. That's not what they do. So it's always very, very interesting to see how the models are performing in this case. So I'm just going to hit the reload button just to clean everything up. I'm going to hit the play button and boom, the model is arguably not able to do its work correctly. So it's not able to do flap. Yep, which is interesting. There is no ship.flap anywhere, even though this method here exists. So that's interesting. That's interesting. It says undefined. So I did some changes to the game and I used an older P5.js version, and this is the result. The game is not good, not optimized at all. So the data that Nvidia has potentially seem a little old, and the game is not working well. It has various issues. So I think this is a good release, but Nvidia kind of failed, at least in the coding tasks. But I would call this model insane due to its speed and performance. For such a fast model, we cannot expect right now something better than this.